Hi guys. This is my very favorite part of the year. Most of you know me already. My name is Mrs. Santoro, and I am in charge of the Book Bloom. And this is the first of what will be probably about 7 or 8 videos to go over with you. Some of the books will be at the Book Bloom that night. I am so excited. Once the book starts coming in, like, all I can think about is doing these videos so that you can hear all about what we're going to have there. But let me tell you a little bit about the Bloom, because every year I feel like we get to add something to it, and this year is no exception. This is our 5th annual Book Bloom, and for those of you who have never been to a Book Bloom before, whether you're a 7th grader, a new student, or you just have been living under a rock and like haven't made it yet, I can't even imagine that. This is the event. Basically, you come to the cafeteria and you come with a book, and it's a used book that you don't want anymore. So it's got to be something that you're willing to give away, something that you think other teenagers would probably like to read, something you don't want. You're going to hand it in. That's your ticket in the door. It's the ticket to all of the events that are there that night, including the Book Bloom. So you'll come in. There will be all kinds of stuff for you to do. I'll talk about that in a minute. And when you get to the main lobby, all the books that the students have brought that night will be laying out on tables. You will get to pick the new used book that you want. Then you'll move through the main lobby to the library. And when you get to the library, you'll either see me or Mrs. Shaw there, and she'll be working with some students, and she'll have piles and piles of books. There are 20 selections of books this year. There are over 400 books on their way to our school. And you get to pick one. You get a free book. The even cooler thing about it is that if you bring a parent, not only do they get to be part of the swap, but they also get a free book as well. So you have the potential to leave with 4 books that night. 2 of the new used ones and 2 of the brand new books of the 20 choices that I'm going to be telling you about over the next few days. It's such a cool night. There's so many people there, and you get to have books for the summer that you want to read. And what I love the most about our school, and what has not changed and what we continue to work on, is that you are a school of readers. More than any other school that I've been in, you're a school of readers. And this is a fantastic opportunity to get brand new books for yourself for the summer. So let me tell you about some of the other stuff that's going to be there that night. When you come in through the cafeteria, as always, will be open. Chef Bill is going to be there, and his focus this year is working with local foods to make snacks for the summer. So these are things that you could go down to the Columbia Market and pick up. You can go to Andy's Meats and get them there. It's stuff that you can find in town, grows locally, is found locally, and you can make the snacks that way. On top of that, we'll have, I think his name is Jim from the comic store. He gives away free comic books every year. And we'll have the library ladies come up, and they always have free giveaway stuff as well. There will be rooms open this year as you make your way out of the cafeteria, and there will be stuff there for your parents. The auditorium will be open like it was last year, and the talent show will be going on, which was so phenomenal last year. We have such talented kids. It was super cool. You can walk in and out of that. Then, set up in the middle school hallway and also going into the library, and in the library will be all kinds of projects that you've done in your classes. Tech projects, history projects, science projects, English projects, all that stuff is going to be there for you to see, for your parents to see. And if you want to continue down the hall to the gym, this year the brand new thing that we're doing is the Cultural Diversity Fair that's being put on by our Wellness Committee, and headed by Mrs. Schusterman and some other people in our school. That should be so neat. I know it's Mrs. Western, Mrs. DeVoe, and I'm not sure who else is helping with that, but it's going to be very, very cool. The Book Bloom itself will be set up in the main lobby and also in the library, but basically it's a night for you to come with your friends, with your parents, whoever you want, and hang out, show them the school, show them all the stuff we do, and you get to see your friends performing, and you get to see your projects. It's just such a fun night, and it's become bigger and bigger every year. The first year that we did it, we expected a group of 50, and we had a group of 150, and last year we were up over 300 students and parents that came in that night. So that's so cool, and that's just because of you guys showing up and wanting to be there. It is on May 29th. It's a Thursday. It's like 2 weeks from now, and it is at 6:30. The doors will open at 6:30 in the cafeteria, and you can come through that way. You can bring the book that night, or you can bring the books to school at any time, and I will give you your tickets ahead of time. So that is entirely up to you. If you have any questions, you are welcome to come see me in 206. The books that I'm going to tell you about, I will have in my room. Mrs. Shaw has a set in her room, and Mr. White will have a set in the library as well. So if any of the books you would like to come and look at to get a better look to decide what you want, you're more than welcome to do that. At this point, none of us are allowing the books to leave our room, though, because we want them to be a surprise and something fun when you get there that you can actually take home for the first time that night. I'm really excited this year because we have some authors that you've heard of before that I've actually given away before at the Bloom, but we also have some brand new authors that have put out phenomenal work, and I'm super excited to tell you about those as well. So let me get to the books. I have 3 books I'm going to tell you about today. This first book, there we go. This first book is called Invisibility. It's co-authored by Andrea Cremer and David Levithan. Now, Andrea Cremer's a rather new author. She's famous for a series called the Nightshade series, which I actually don't know anything about. It was a New York Times bestseller. It just hasn't been on my radar, and I will check it out. But David Levithan is really what made me look at this book. Those of you who have had me in class have heard me talk about David Levithan before. He is a phenomenal writer. I would put him well up there with John Green and some of the other authors I've read. He wrote a book that I gave away a few years ago called Every Day, and that book is still, to this day, on and off my shelf on a regular basis. It's such a phenomenal story. So as soon as I saw that he was out with a new book, even though it was co-authored, I thought I have to take a look at it and see if it's something that we want. And as soon as I did, I realized that this was going to be something that you guys would really enjoy. It's called Invisibility, and it's a very simple concept. The main character of the story, Stephen, is invisible. He's never once been seen in his entire life, and he lives his existence being seen by no one, being present but being not there at all. And what it says, I was going to just read you like the first few moments of the book. It says, "When I emerge from the elevator, there's a girl in front of 3B, holding 3 bags from IKEA. As she fumbles for her door key, all 3 of them drop to the ground. I gingerly walk past her, then wait by my door. There's no way for me to take my key out of its hiding place and open the door until she's gone from the hall. I stand there watching as she scoops a pair of bookends and some cheap picture frames back into one of the bags. She is either cursing at herself or cursing at the bags, I can't tell which. 'Are you really going to just stand there?' she asks. 'Is this fun for you?' All the electricity in my body is suddenly alert, amped to a level of consciousness I've never felt before. I turn to look behind me, to see who's there. But there's no one there. 'Yeah, you,' the girl says. I cannot believe it. She sees me." So this is called Invisibility by Andrea Cremer and David Levithan. The next book I want to tell you about, a few of my students have read because I've actually had it on my shelf for, this might actually be the first year. This is called It's Kind of a Funny Story, and it's by Ned Vizzini. And I think what has really become so kind of fascinating about the book is some of the backstory that goes with the book. Ned Vizzini spent some time as a teenager in an adult psychiatric hospital, in a mental institution. He spent about a week there. And about a week after he left, he sat down and wrote this book. So even though the story is called a work of fiction, it is very much based on what his experience was like being in a psychiatric ward with these severely emotionally disturbed adults. What makes the book even more powerful is that a few months ago, Ned Vizzini hung himself in his New York City apartment. And so it brings this realization to the fact that this wasn't just a story. This was his life. And it wasn't just when he was a teenager. It was when he was an adult, too. That the depression and the anxiety and all the things that he fought and all the things that he went through, they didn't leave him when he was done being a teenager. They didn't go away. And even though the story, I really think, is about hope and happiness, there's also a lot of the story that's about mental illness and how difficult it can be to overcome, and how hard it can be to be positive in the face of dealing with that kind of stuff. So the story to me is all the more powerful because you realize that this is a teenager who struggled all the way to adulthood and eventually... Cam! Cam! Come here! Hey! 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 Camo! Come here now! Hey! Get over here! Get over here! Get over here! Get over here! Camo? Relax, would you? So to me, what makes the story the most fascinating of all is that there is so much truth in it and so much reality in this kind of fiction that I think that you'll love it and that you'll grasp onto that. And knowing the backstory to it makes it better. So this is called It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vizzini. The last book I want to tell you about is by Neil Schusterman. It is part of a trilogy, and it is called. This book is called Unwind, and it's called the Unwind trilogy. The second one, I can't remember what the second one is called, and it's not on the back here. It's Unwind something, and the last one is called Unsold. And I know that the post-apocalyptic books are starting to get a little bit much. Like, everybody's writing about, and then the future changed, and the world was crazy, and everybody was killing each other. But I loved this one because there's a part of it that feels so real and speaks so much to our time, because at the very crux of this book is the issue of what makes a life? When is a life a life? And of course, this is the battle that people have had over the idea of abortion for decades, is when is a life truly a life? And this story is set in the future when a second world war has happened, and it's the world war, or the civil war, I'm sorry, not the world war, the civil war has happened over this issue of when is a life a viable life? And what they decide after the Civil War is that a life is viable and cannot be altered or touched in any way from the moment of conception, meaning the moment that that egg is fertilized, until the child is 13 years old. And at 13 years old, then the parents have a decision to make. If you have a child who volunteers, who is not performing academically, or who is a problem child and you no longer want, you can have them, the parent can have them be unwound. And what that means is that the child doesn't technically die, but they take them in for surgery and they take the child apart in pieces. Eyes, skin, teeth, liver, lungs, heart, toes, every single piece of that child is given to somebody who needs it, whether they have a deformity or a car accident or some type of an illness, and that child is unwound, taken apart in pieces, while living, and set to live separately in a separate existence within other people. And so they're not technically killed because they're considered to still be living within other human beings. This is the story about 3 kids who decide that they don't want to be unwound and that they're going to fight the system. And this is what happens to them when they do. This book is so phenomenal. I read this one in a day, the second one in a day, and the third one in 2 days because I could not put them down. I love when I get a book like that, when it's something that you just can't even step away from it for a second. And Schusterman is just incredible at driving his plots along. You just want to know what's going to happen to these kids. What could they possibly do to them next? That's what's so phenomenal about Unwind. And you'll love this one, and you will be coming to me or Mr. White or Miss Shaw, I think she has them too, to ask for the next 2. So, those are the first 3 books that will be there at the Bloom that night. Unwind, Invisibility, and It's Kind of a Funny Story. They're amazing. The books this year are amazing. I don't even know what else to say about them. I'm so excited for you guys to get them. If you have any questions, please come see me. I will have more information for you each day as we do one of these videos. But again, the Bloom is May 29th. It's a Thursday at 6:30, and we hope to see you there. See you tomorrow.